Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Football is where we pick up now. The Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, the TTFA, has indefinitely suspended their men's under-17 head coach, Shawn Cooper. Cooper, who last February came within one result of qualifying the unit for the Qatar 2025 FIFA Under-17 World Cup, was slapped with a ban by the TTFA safeguarding manager Gary St. Rose. This is what St. Rose said in a release. With immediate effect and in accordance with Section 3, Article 29, Mr. Shawn Cooper is prohibited from coaching youth players, that's 18 years and under, until further notice. Section 3, Article 29 states, where a person and/or organization is being investigated for abuse, a breach of the safeguarding policy, or a criminal offense, the TTFA shall impose conditions on that person or organization's license to work with children, youth players, and vulnerable groups. Cooper, who is also the head coach of Presentation College San Fernando, will be unable to operate in that role because of the ban. Presentation College's Past Students Association has since demanded a timely resolution. Shawn Cooper, they say, who is an alumnus of the Presentation College San Fernando, currently serves as the school's Premier Division football team coach, as well as advisor to the college's entire football structure. The Past Students Association does not wish to speculate on the matter or matters that would have led to the decision by the TTFA. However, it can be stated unequivocally that Shawn Cooper, during his tenure at the college, has been a beacon of discipline, transparency, and success. He has not only impacted football players, but all students as a whole, with his disciplined and inspirational approach to the sport of football, and also has his unwavering concern with the academic standing of students and student athletes. The association stands firmly by our distinguished alumnus, Coops, as he is affectionately known, and has extended necessary support that he may require to deal with the situation at hand. We look forward to this issue being resolved in a timely manner and await to see Coach Cooper on the touchline guiding the Pres Lions to victory in our upcoming Premier Division season. Now joining us to shed some light on the issue is our football analyst based in Trinidad and Tobago, former TNT national player and also former sports minister in TNT, Brent Sancho. Brent, why has the TTFA indefinitely suspended Shawn Cooper from working with juniors?
Well, good afternoon to everyone there. I think that's the big question, Lance. It's how did the TTFA come to this conclusion? Of course, safeguarding is a very important aspect of most MAs or FAs across world football. They take their guidelines and protocols from FIFA, and they have to implement those safeguarding issues. I think the question, Lance, is whether or not this process or the process that was utilized to punish Mr. Cooper was done in accordance to FIFA regulations or to the regulations of the TTFA.
Yeah, and I recognize that the TTFA has been very skimpy with the information that they have put out and suggested that because of legal implications, there is very little that they can say on the matter.
Well, I think the question that is on the lips of most football stakeholders here in Trinidad and Tobago is why the information was put out in the public domain. It was released by Mr. St. Rose, I believe, on Monday past at about 8 a.m. And it was made a very public situation, as many would understand. A situation that is as delicate as this has the right to rule in terms of all that has to be investigated with it. And while this investigation is going on, and whether or not the investigation was done, again, with the right processes, it should not have come out in the public unless there was, for sure, an answer. And I think that right there is where the question lies.
Yeah, I saw a report on 868, Wired 868, that suggested, that quoted the National Technical Director, Anton Cornell, as not being privy to any investigation and he was not a part of the investigation. Would it be surprising to you that as technical director, Mr. Cornell would not have been, aware of a development like this?
I think the surprise is, it's whether or not he was alerted to this before the letter came out, and whether or not the information around this investigation, as I said, was in his domain. At the end of the day, Lance, a situation like this has its processes. I know I keep mentioning that situation, the processes and the procedure, and whether or not this was done by the right individuals, because it could not and cannot be a situation where one individual is the judge and jury. It certainly would have to go through a rigor of different persons. It certainly would have to have information coming from at least two sides that are in part of this situation, and it would have to have all the information put forward to the various bodies, whether it be the ethics committee and other arms within the FA that is charged responsible for that. And I think that's where the question is. If any of those things transpired, it's a very messy situation for the FA. And I must say, Lance, to the viewers, this is not the first time that a letter of such has come out and I've had question marks attached to it. And I think this one in particular, because of the individual, Mr. Cooper, and it's of course someone that is recently part of a National Assembly setup, the information came out. But it's really concerning the way things went down and the information coming out.
Yeah, and Brent, from what you're saying, I'm getting the, the idea that you were shocked that you saw this information, one, put out into the public domain, and of course with the TTFA letterhead attached to the top of it.
Yeah, because there's a due process, and most federations ensure that process, before publicly sharing any decision, must go through the right investigative measures. And one must ask whether or not that transpired. I know there is reports that Mr. Cooper has not given his side of the story. That is unconfirmed reports. And if that is true, it lends to question marks that are being asked. And so why this has been put out in the public domain when it's still very much in its embryonic stage. It should have certainly been given the opportunity to be properly ventilated and properly go through all of the right channels. And again, Mariah, this is not the first time that the question marks have been put towards letters coming out with safeguarding issues when the persons that have been accused have stated that the process have not been properly channeled. And that is very, very concerning, because at the end of the day, you're talking about persons' reputations and, of course, natural justice, where a person is innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, and because the information is not out there, well, a lot of information is not out there. I'm going to ask you, Brent, this question from a different angle, as in, how long do investigations of this nature usually take back in Trinidad and Tobago, and with what's going on here?
Well, it obviously varies on the type of information, but it does have its channels that it has to go through, as you would imagine. It has to first, the information has to be reported first and foremost, and all information taken from the accusers. And of course, then the questions will be asked to the person that is accused to give their side of the story. And then all information then taken to the right channels. It can't be an individual that decides on it. It has to be a panel. And 9 times out of 10, the ethics committee is charged with that responsibility. This is a committee that sits under the executive of the TTFA and reports to the executive. And once they give their report, that report is sent to the executive of the TTFA before any sort of decision is handed. Yes, if it is a situation that has immediate concerns, the investigation is being carried out. Yes, you can ask the accused to step aside, but it's certainly not something that is channeled in the public. And I think that part of it, coupled with, of course, the processes that I just mentioned, is where many people here in Trinidad and Tobago are struggling to come to terms with.
Yeah, Brent, of course, we don't know the specific nature of the charge here, but do you have any idea as to whether complaints were filed from players, parents, or just about anyone close to the situation, or was this something that the TTFA uncovered themselves? Do we have any idea how this came about in the first place?
Well, if we have to take a report that came out on the local radio station here in Trinidad and Tobago probably a month and a half ago, where a radio announcer specifically called on the TTFA to look into a matter regarding a youth coach. Of course, the radio announcer was very careful in how they spoke, but he spoke to the announcer, of course, the charges laid by parents of the players and their conduct, that such words were used of the coach. So if you have to take that, Ricardo, as probably some sort of hint towards what may have transpired, it does look like parents of the very set on the 17th team that Mr. Cooper recently coached would have had some of their challenges and were not happy with some of Mr. Cooper's actions. And again, I'm just utilizing that radio program a month and a half ago that came out with that angling. So it does sense to me that there seems to be players and parents that have not been happy with the way things have been dealt with.
Yeah, and there were reports outside of that, and I guess the month time frame that you just referenced, Brent, would fall in line with the Under-17 World Cup, where he was head coach, because there was a report in the media that suggested that players were subsequently polled by the TTFA safeguarding unit on matters such as the level of satisfaction with the environment created by the coaching staff, as well as their physical and mental health during the competition. This is the Under-17 competition that Shawn Cooper was the head coach for. So it does appear, based on what I read and what you just said, that maybe the issue surrounds his performance as the coach of the Under-17 team to the Qatar World Cup, or qualifying.
Yeah, it would suggest that, and many in the fraternity would know that Mr. Cooper is a disciplinarian. He is what you call an old school hard knocks coach that bases his team on a very strong line of discipline. And it could be that situation that some within the Under-17 program, particularly the parents and the players, may not have been too enthralled with the way he handled things. And maybe that is the source of this particular investigation. But of course, Lance, it points right back to the fact that if it is an investigation, and if there are allegations, then it should have its due process. And I would suggest that that due process certainly has not been completed in its fullness. And so the letter that was dated March 15th that was released by Mr. Rose into the public domain may be looked at as something as being very much off-key and off-color.
Yeah, you know, we hate on this program, Brent, to be speculating. It's a very delicate issue, and we don't like to speculate. We like to have the facts, and we like to have all of the issues presented so that we can assess them. But I do take your point that the fact that the TTFA safeguarding arm has come out with this story and at the moment unable to be very explicit with what they're saying, and put that against the support that Shawn Cooper is getting, not only from the TNT technical director, Anton Cornell, but his presentation college staff as well. And we just read the press release that they put out. They are firmly 100% behind him. So as far as they are concerned, they are willing to stand by their man.
Yeah, and again, Shawn Cooper is one of those coaches that has had tremendous success at the secondary school level, and many who have had the opportunity to be coached by him have come out in his defense, even in social media as well, various players that would have played under him. And so it does bring this situation even further to the forefront. because it does ask the question, and it does continue to beg the question whether or not the investigation was done to the fullness, because there are several entities, some that you may have mentioned and others that within the social media and even players that have come out in support of him. So you do wonder, and you do hope for the TTFA that they have covered all bases. But if what we are seeing starting to materialize, you may question whether or not that is the case.
Yeah, Brent, we're going to leave it there. There isn't much more that we can unfurl with this particular story and the information that we have got. But it does appear as if the TTFA is a bit on the back foot here, because they've made a very serious stance, or taken a very serious stance here against a national coach, and they're unable to say all of what they have found. It is hard to believe that they would take a position like this without having solid information and solid investigative evidence to defend their move. But I guess in time we'll get more on this story. But thanks, Brent, for giving us the information that you have.
Yeah, certainly. And I would, again, Lance, add the fact that this is not the first time that question marks are put up against these measures. And you would hope that finally that they do figure out a way to do things the right way.
Yeah. Okay. Brent Sancho there, our correspondent in Trinidad and Tobago, addressing this suspension on national under-17 coach Shawn Cooper. We go to break. We still have a lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone, including a link with Bahamas and their beach soccer team that finished 4th in World Cup qualifiers at home.